Hi there. Welcome to another edition of TokStocks. I'm your host, Keir Reynolds, and today we're lucky enough to have James Sykes, CEO of Baseload Energy, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the ticker FIND. Hey James, how you doing today?
Here, I'm doing fantastic, and I hope you are too.
I'm doing very well, thanks. Anyways, appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. You got lots going on. I really look forward to unpacking some of that with you today. So appreciate the time that you're going to give to us. We're going to talk a little bit about, you've sort of named this new term, Athabasca 2.0. I guess it's sort of like basement hosted versus traditional unconformity type uranium deposits. Maybe you could explain that in some layman terms for us a little bit later on. But before we get into all that, maybe you could share us a little bit about your journey in the mining and uranium sector, a little bit about who you are for some of the viewers that might not know your name.
Sure, I've been in the industry since 2006. I started my career with Denison Mines, exploring for uranium in the Athabasca. So I've been ingrained in this area for quite a while now. I find it very fascinating. I've entrenched myself into the whole working of things. As far as the exploration side and big discoveries, I was part of the Denison team that prioritized what became the Phoenix and Griffin discoveries. When I went to Hathor exploration after they had made the original Rough Rider discovery, I joined the team, helped put together a 3D geological model, and suggested we were drilling in the wrong orientation. So as soon as we changed our orientation, we discovered two more deposits, and our neighbors Fission discovered their deposit. Went on to NextGen, was the lead geologist behind the Arrow discovery. Worked in the rare earth space on the world's highest rare earth grade outcrops, which was very cool, up in northern Saskatchewan as well. So there's a lot of cool things going up in northern Saskatchewan. And then joining on with Baseload in our first drill program, we made a uranium discovery. And even on a number of little projects that most people don't know about, I've made some basement hosted discoveries. They weren't anything of economic warrant, but they helped prove together a thesis of things, and that's kind of what we brought into Baseload. So a lot of my background and understanding of how the geological side of uranium in the Athabasca works, we put that into Baseload and made that our thesis and our mantra, looking more for deposits that can go into a mine rather than just discovering a deposit.
Well, excellent. I think that's what we as investors like to hear, is that there's a good mission and a good vision for the company, and that it's not just going to be mining our wallets, but it may turn into something that might be economic down the line. So you'll need some luck on the drill stick, but sounds like you got quite the resume there, and very obviously, a lot of background in uranium. So I look forward to get into a little bit more of that with you today. As CEO versus some of the other roles where you're maybe on the geological side, what are some of your primary responsibilities with Baseload as its CEO today?
Basically steering the company forward. Originally, it was looking at the projects of merit, trying to get into areas that we thought would be lucrative for mineralization to occur. Lo and behold, we've been right. And really a lot of investor relations, pushing the messages, just trying to continue to bring the investors on the ride for us, because we do a lot of videos, we do a lot of educational pieces, and that's one thing I think we really differentiate ourselves on. But we do it because we like the investor to come on the journey with us, that people aren't just making investment and just wishing, okay, well, I hope they're successful. We're giving you the entire reasons why we think we're going to be successful, and lay everything out in very interesting formats. So putting those messages together and really trying to continue to expose Baseload to the investment communities.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing a bit of research in preparation for this. You guys have a nice website and a great corporate presentation. It kind of goes into your thesis and paints it with some nice pictures. Obviously, it looks like you got 3-4 successful. You got obviously Denison, very synonymous with amazing success in uranium, and then obviously Hathor and NextGen, sort of two exploration darlings. So you've got that sort of going for you. Um, what sort of, I guess, key experiences from your background or maybe mentorships that have shaped your sort of approach to what you're doing with Baseload?
I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with some very knowledgeable people within the industry. I call them the godfathers of uranium exploration because they're those type of guys who have made discoveries, multiple discoveries, and I was able to pick their brains and learn a lot from those guys. So yeah, that's one of the big benefits I think that I would have. But yeah, you can look at people who come from the chemical or nano side of things; they get all that experience directly from those companies, rightfully so. But I've put in a lot of hard work. I've many stories of, especially at Rough Rider, Denison. I spent a lot of time relogging core, and that's one of the reasons Griffin became Griffin. Was I my when I was relogging core, said holes ZKO4 and ZKO6, I identified the clay alteration, and I'd seen the Millennium Chemicals Millennium deposit prior to that. And for, I guess, the vast majority of people don't know Millennium deposit, but it's got a lot of white clay alteration and uranium's within the middle. So just make a note of that white clay alteration. We looked at it as a group and decided, yeah, this is the right type of hydrothermal alteration that you'd want to find around mineralization. So Griffin became Griffin, but with the right people and just that tenacity for relogging core. Because nobody had ever asked me to do it. It was just something that I chose to do with my spare time.
Hey, excellent.
Yeah, just things like that. Just going hard,
Well,
and into
good to
something
hear.
that, yeah, into something that really is meaningful.
Maybe we'll just sort of set the stage and then we'll get into some of the specifics on Baseload, but maybe we can get some thoughts on the uranium sector. It's obviously been very topical. We've seen that spot price sort of double over the last, well, I guess less than a year. Obviously, from the time that you started in '06, it reached a high, I think, in '07. That was, I was also in the uranium side of things, doing some work in the central mineral belts in Labrador. That's when uranium went through sort of a big squeeze. And then we went through, I guess, a winter where uranium prices were really depressed, and we had Fukushima that's, further kind of depressed the cycle. But it seems that we're getting some interesting things kind of happening. We had COP28 here just recently, where I guess 22 countries, nations sort of signed on and have looked to, they want to triple their nuclear power generation by 2050. So we got some really interesting sort of momentum. Maybe you could, as an ultimate insider, somebody who's actually working on these things and been involved with the sector for so long, do you have any thoughts on where you see, uranium demand sort of like heading and how you've positioned Baseload to be part of this?
As it is right now, there is an imbalance between supply and demand for nuclear fuel, so uranium. And that is projected to continue to grow as there's nothing coming online immediately. There's nothing large. There have been some large mines that have been taken away from the equation in the last 5 years. So those are no longer there and they haven't been replaced. And growth is accelerating in China and India, nuclear growth. We're seeing a lot more reactors being deployed, restarts in Japan. They have been slow, but they're still steady. So the demand side is continuing to grow without pause. So there's going to be that continuous demand for uranium, and supply has to catch up at some point. If it doesn't, then that just brings everything back down and drags. But it'll have a positive impact on that spot price, or more importantly, the contract price. Those prices have to go higher. So we know that there is that supply demand gap, and with baseload strategy that we are looking for near surface high grade uranium deposits that could go into production quicker than deposits underneath the sandstone. That's how we see ourselves fitting into the current marketplace. That we wouldn't be we're not just in this for the now. We're in this to hit the market while the market is still there. That we think that our exploration style and discovery style could make this current marketplace, instead of missing another one and waiting for the next one to rebound, as this is typically cyclical. as is everything else in the world.
Right, for sure. In terms of some of the stuff you mentioned, there's obviously been some supply that's come off, obviously with what's happened with some sanctions and things like that, and then also I guess there's a sulfuric acid sort of shortage in places like Kazakhstan. So production guidance is coming in lower than anticipated. Is that going to have any sort of effect with the continued sort of adoption of nuclear, or is nuclear power generation, as far as you're aware, less sensitive to price increases in the nuclear fuel side of things than other forms of power generation?
Yeah, the nuclear side is basically insensitive to the price of uranium because the price of uranium is such a low, it's such a small amount on the overall cost of nuclear energy that it's almost meaningless. So that the contract price can go higher without having an impact on any nuclear utility down the road. So that's one of the big reasons that we within the industry do see that there's a lot of uptick potential for the price of uranium contract spot price, which has positive outlook on the whole side, on the whole developers, producers, explorers.
Right. I guess a couple of the companies you've worked with in the past, I guess one in particular, we don't have to mention any names, but they've had sort of like an economic deposit seemingly for many years, and it looks like their production of when they'd actually go into production is still quite far out. Are you seeing some sort of like improvement in terms of bureaucracy or sort of momentum in this country on being able to fast track exploration? So that you can, so that we can sort of increase some supply to meet that increasing demand?
No, I haven't. I haven't really seen anything, although we haven't really been looking too hard.
Sure.
But from what I've seen, I think things are on par, especially in the uranium space. But again, this is kind of why Baseload does what we do. We're looking for predominantly open pit style of mine because we know globally, anywhere in the world, they're the easiest to bring online through the permitting phase, through the engineering phase, through the mining and direct extractability. Nothing beats an open pit mine, and they can be reclaimed and refurbished very well. So that was our strategy from day one. Again, I said we want to find a deposit. We want to find a mine, not a deposit. You can have a deposit that sits underground for 20, 30 odd years. There's great examples of them in northern Saskatchewan's Athabasca Basin. Deposits that are phenomenal that should be mined, but they've got challenging engineering issues to deal with. They've been around for 50 odd years.
Right. Well, I guess that's a good dovetail. Maybe we could sort of get into and unpack from your perspective with this Athabasca 2.0 sort of model that you guys have put together. I guess it's focusing on more near surface open pittable, but anything else you can sort of like add to that in terms of the strategy and then how you've sort of validated that?
Yeah, well, it's all pretty simple actually. So northern Saskatchewan uranium exploration, northern Saskatchewan's Athabasca Basin is really divided into uh, two geological environments. One is a sandstone basin that's literally a sink. It's a sink filled with sand, and everything underneath that sand, everything down here, is all hard rock. So if you've ever walked on a granite or seen mountains, there's your hard rock. And then the sandstone is basically like walking on a beach, but it's all solidified, so it's not going to sink. But you've got water all throughout that sandstone, whereas all the rocks underneath, your crystalline rocks, do not have water. So you basically have a large sink that's filled with water, and the deeper you go, the more pressure that there is in the water. And that's the issue with these discoveries, because most of these discoveries are called unconformity deposits, and they occur at that contact between the sandstone and the crystalline rock. So if you're on this side of the sink where it's very shallow, yeah, it's not bad. You can deal with those. And they have been. You have open pitted these things down to about 100 meters of sandstone cover. But if you go deeper than 100 meters sandstone cover and get really deep in some areas, it's proven that you cannot mine these things out because the water is too much of an issue. You need to freeze that water on a 24-hour, 365-day basis. And even if your mine is off, Even if you're offline with your mine, you still have to freeze that water because it's not just a costly issue, but it's a huge safety issue. And there's only 2 mines in the entire Athabasca Basin that have ever gone underground in the sandstone, and that is McArthur River and Cigar Lake. Both of them because they're over 300 million pounds when they started mining, and they had over 20% average grades for the main part of what they're extracting. Those are huge numbers. Those are the most valuable mined commodity of anything in the entire world by far. I've worked at Red Lake, Ontario, back when it was Gold Corp, 2005 as a summer student. I got to hold 10,000 ounce showpiece gold core. That value pales in comparison to the uranium value that they're extracting out of Cigar Lake and McArthur River. That's why those things are mined.
Didn't Cigar Lake have some issues with some flooding
Yes.
when they were starting to get going, and it caused a 3 or 4 year delay, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, exactly, and a huge run up in the spot price as well. But that's both of those mines flooded twice. Both of them flooded twice, and so they needed to develop those freeze curtains. So again, it's a tricky scenario, and the only way you mine those things is if you've got super high grade and super tonnage. You're not going in for something small because the cost just isn't there. Open pit mining, though, if you find something like that near surface and you don't have those sandstone issues to worry about, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. No water issues, just a straight up open pit. Like if you had a 300 million pound deposit that was 20% average grade, that was 100 meters deep, that's an open pit, and you've got the world's most valuable mine by far. So that's our thesis, and we do believe that these things do occur outside of the current Athabasca Basin. Again, with our first drill program as a company, we made such a discovery that proved our thesis. So we know that there are more.
So you
feel comfortable.
Call that that's called the ACKIO, is it?
Yes. Yep.
Maybe you could sort of go into that in a little bit more detail. Is going to be my next question.
Okay, so ACKIO, yes, ACKIO was discovered on our first drill program in September 2021. It is near surface, high grade uranium mineralization. It's currently defined in about 9 pods, but we think 2 of those pods might actually be connected and extend from near surface down to at least 200 meters depth, which is very cool. It's a lot of continuous mineralization. The entire strike length so far measures about 375 meters long, and the 9 zones are spread out over about 175 meters wide width, so in 3 different parallel structures. The big takeaway, though, that we really like to promote is that, again, it is near surface. We have 2 zones of mineralization that start near surface. One of them is about 25, 28 meters beneath the surface. The other one's about 30, 32 meters beneath the surface. If anybody follows hockey out there, then the width of a hockey rink is 25 meters. So if you've got mineralization starting that deep from surface, that's nothing. You can extract that overburden very quickly, get down right to mineralization, and start mining within less than 6 months. That's how lucrative these things are. So it's a very quick turnaround time and low potential operating costs, low potential capex costs.
Well, pretty rare to from investing in some of these things and following a number of them, pretty rare to make a discovery such as that on your first drill program. What sort of led you to go and drill that target? Was there some prior work or some of your past experience that indicated that it was going to be successful?
There were some geophysical overlapping anomalies that we thought looked very lucrative. We staked the Hook project over what we thought was a regional landscape of a scar or a fault structure as a scar on the face of the earth, basically. And I've always believed that it actually had something to do with the McArthur River. Whether that's true or not, still don't know. But the fact is, this thing was a huge structure that you could see from satellites. And we picked it up, flew some airborne geophysical surveys over it, and had some areas that continuously overlapped. Figured, hey, it looked good. There was also an Australian company who, as we started drilling a target south, where we hit radioactive pegmatites, which were very exciting, with alteration that we've still never followed up. While we were drilling down in that area, they had drilled a hole up on what they call GMZ. So that's just on the northern end of ACKIO. So ACKIO and 92 Energy's GMZ are split. It's the same deposit, but they're split. We have the shallower and more numerous mineralization, whereas they have the deeper and less volumetric, I guess.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's cool, but annoying in a way too.
I guess they're
But
just doing a. I guess they're just tentatively in a deal with Athabasca Energy, if I'm not mistaken.
correct, yes, yeah, and that's taken a while to go through, but it looks like it will go through, and so we'll have new neighbors. But we do believe that ACKIO GMZ will be mined in the future. It's a
Hey,
it's
wow, very
fantastic.
cool. So, what sort of exploration program or what work program do you have to continue advancing that? I see that you've announced a drill program for a different project right now, but before we get into that, maybe we could just talk about what you've got planned for ACCIO for 2024.
We've got a lot planned, not just for ACKIO, but for the Hook project. And we've got about 16,000 meters planned for it. 12,000 meters are going to be planned on ACKIO, where we will be continuing to do some delineation and additional definition drilling to bring our mineralization into an indicated resource category. We have also got some exploration to do within ACKIO, especially to the north trend, where we left off with a highlight hole of about 1% over 8.5 meters. We do know that it's a high grade corridor that links up with another such intersect just to the north, about 75 meters, 100 meters to the north. That whole trend's wide open. So that has to be followed up. We're going to follow up deeper mineralization, or the potential for deeper mineralization. We're going to deploy a fleet ANT satellite survey. It's a ANT, ambient noise tomography. It's basically like it's like a seismic survey, but listening to the natural noise from within the earth. Sounds like hokey pokey stuff. I know it's weird, but it does. There is a legitimacy to it. So we're going to run that and hopefully map out this deeper structure and then start drilling that off as well. We've also got a sandstone unconformity target that we really want to drill because although I dumped on the sandstone earlier, we don't have a thick sandstone sequence, and it's not part of this big volumetric body. It's a sub basin that is removed from the giant sink, so water won't be an issue. But we know that the sandstone continues to the south of where we've drilled, and our southernmost drill holes that hit the sandstone have just these geochemical anomalies that are highlighting that I've seen on other deposits that have more basement hosted mineralization, more as a sandstone unconformity mineralization. These targets are just screaming at us like, hey, look, there's unconformity potential here. Drill here, you might find more. So we've got sufficient drill meterage to do a swath of drill holes to really target in on unconformity mineralization. The fault is there. We know it's there. We know it's a fluid pathway already. We know there's uranium in the area. This area is hot as hell. But the thing about unconformity mineralization is that that's typically where you get your higher grades. That's where you get your 5%, your 20%. And as soon as you've got 20% material, you build a deposit so quickly. You can build 20 million pounds off 25 meters by 25 meters by 25 meters at 20%.
Yeah.
That's a
I
tiny
remember that was
volume
sort of
with a
like,
huge grade.
yeah, that was kind of, I guess, Hathor with the Rough Rider. It was pretty high grade and
Oh,
pretty sort of like small pods, but very
I held
lucrative.
over 80% uranium in my hands at Rough Rider. Okay, that was the
Wow.
first time I've ever held that. That's basically almost as pure as you can get. And then I've held it at Next Gen as well. So
Wow.
and I've seen it at MacArthur River.
Very
So
cool. Very
yeah,
cool. Well, it
you got to
sounds like
find
we
that
got
stuff.
to.
That is the mine builder material.
So it sounds like you have a very aggressive 2024 plan. Lots of work, lots of different things. You sound very excited. It's nice to hear a geologist excited about what they're working on, and somebody with a track record like yourself. You make mention of something called Tier 1 targets in your presentation. I thought that was pretty interesting. Maybe you could just walk us through what Tier 1 sort of means from your perspective.
Tier 1 basically means those are the targets that really caught our eye without doing in-depth investigation. Just things built on our past experience. We know what type of geophysical surveys to run. We've flown them all. We know what anomalies we are looking for based on those surveys. And when we combine all those and overlay them, what are the anomalies that really pop? Sometimes you don't have all of the anomalies, but they need to be drilled. So it's not really a ranking of what is better, what is worse. It's just what really popped to our eyes and in our minds right away.
Sounds good. Thanks for explaining that. And then you've announced that you're going to be drilling, or you've started drilling at Catharsis, at the Catharsis uranium project. Could you walk us through that target, that project, what it's all about, and what do you hope to accomplish with this drill program?
Yeah, Catharsis is a wonderful project. It has a lot going for it. It is basically a miniature structural model of the whole Arrow Fission's Triple R deposit area. Basically, we've taken that whole structural idea and shrunk it right down, and that is the Catharsis project. Currently drilling right now, we have targets that we've identified that do share uranium deposit similarities. And hopefully with the drill hole, we will be able to uncover if those are real targets, like if there is hydrothermal alteration and uranium, which would be even better, or if they are something else. The Catharsis project as a whole is huge, though. Like, there's a lot of years of exploration. We've defined what we do believe to be some encouraging targets. There are other targets that need to be explored further, but we still need to do a little bit more work on our end. I guess this project has never been explored. It's never been drill explored, and that's what I want to emphasize. It's not a project that has had hundreds of drill holes. No, this has never been drilled before until we drilled it with 8 holes in one area last year. We liked what we saw there. It really played to our thesis, and we saw potential. We saw fluids migrating with uranium potential. We saw the other kind of fluids, the reduced fluids. Once you mix those up, then you can have your uranium deposit. So we've got a target area we need to go back to, but we do have other target areas that we want to test first, because we are looking for those ultra high grade deposits and want to find them as quick as possible.
And sometimes they're like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So I guess it's a high risk,
like
high reward sort of project, which plays nicely with, I guess, your lower risk sort of ACKIO, where you've already had some more drill sticks success.
Yeah, for sure.
And any other sort of exploration plans for 2024 that we haven't already talked about?
We've covered the main two. So the Hook project, which is basically ACKIO, we'll be doing a little bit more on Hook to the south of the mega structure. Some anomalies down there that we really like. Following our Catharsis project, in May, we'll be going up to the Bear project, which is north of Catharsis, in between Key Lake. It's not too far from Key Lake Mill. But we've got a wonderful target area down there that needs to be drilled. And we do have some airborne surveys that we'll be flying on other projects. But we have $12 million in flow through that we need to spend this year by the end of December 31st, 2024. So we have to spend $12 million for exploration. It's a great problem to have. Absolutely wonderful. So we are committed to putting most of that into diamond drilling, especially on projects that need the money and targets that need to be drilled. The uranium market is hot right now. Any success that we have builds on my career, because I have been successful. So that, the lore, as you would, grows. And our thesis behind the company, should we make a discovery, has the potential to go to be developed quicker than any other deposit out there. So we think that we've got all the right characteristics and everything in check for an exciting 2024, very successful year.
That's certainly a nice problem to have, indeed. 12 million exploration budget. There's a lot of companies out there that would, even though it's been a hot market, would love to have something like that. So that should definitely give you some meaningful work and meaningful information to move your thesis along. How many projects in total do you have, and how many hectares do you have under control, and do you own them all 100%?
Yeah, we have 4 projects. We've just actually staked some recent ground. We haven't really done anything with it or released it. It's not material as it is. About 265,000 hectares in these 4 projects: Bear, Catharsis, Hook, Shadow. And all of them were staked by us. We have no JV or royalty agreements with anybody. 100% baseload. That's the way we like it. That's the way we wanted it from day one. We got in early enough before everyone else did. We were able to assess, prioritize, and stake the ground that we thought would have the best chance for uranium discoveries.
Well, we like to hearing that. Let's switch gears a little bit. We'll talk about some stuff. We'll talk about some cap table and financial stuff. Maybe you could walk us through your cap table. How many shares are out? Maybe you could talk about insider ownership and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have about 133 million shares outstanding, another 42 million in warrants and options. We have no major warrants due until November, December of this year, but all of those are out of the money at the moment. They're at over $1. And currently have 20 million in the bank. We've got a lot of, as I said, we've got that 12 million flow through commitment. We just completed a raise, $6 million raise, which gave us an extra 5 million flow through on top of that. With the 12, so we've got about the 16, 17 million flow through, and the rest all in hard dollars. Insider ownership. Market cap today, share price is around 40 cents, 30 cents, 38 cents, 39 cents, I do believe. Market cap's over 50 million, so we're happy with that. Good place to be.
And about 20 in cash.
About 20 in cash, which is absolutely fantastic.
And in terms of like insider ownership, what sort of percentage do you sort of estimate would be owned by insiders?
About 10%. And that's broken down into about 8% QC Copper and Gold, which were the company that really, well, they were the company that vended the vehicle for Baseload to be listed back in 2020. They have 8% insiders, direct insiders. So myself, directors, other employees, we have about 2%. And the Sprott ETF, URNM, has about 10%. All of that was purchased off the open market there. So there's no transaction deal made for that. And then the rest is basically all through retail brokers and retail investors. We have no real large controlling firms. Sprott's come into placements a number of times, Dundee a number of times, but more through the retail brokerage firms.
Excellent. Well, you answered a number of questions that I was going to ask sort of about all of that. Sounds like you're fully funded for 2024. Indeed. Maybe we'll sort of wrap up here. You've given us a really great overview. What advice would you give to young professionals that might be interested in entering into the mining space, maybe in particular the uranium sector, as soon as you've been blessed with some great success and been focused on that? Any advice you give to them to get some more young people involved?
Work hard in whatever you do. And if you don't like what you're doing, then don't do it. Find something else. Find what you really like to do. This way, you're not really working. You're enjoying what you do.
Excellent. That's some good advice. Kind of goes across the board, no matter what you're looking at. So you got to like what you're doing. It sounds like you're really enjoying what you're doing. How do you find your role now, like leading a company versus before, where you were, one of the sort of key people on the geological side, but maybe a little less sort of pressure from the investor, sort of shareholder side? How are you finding your role?
Oh, I love it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I have the mix of both worlds. I enjoy IR. I really do. But I still stay on the technical side, that I get to and understand why we're doing what we're doing. So that side's easy. But yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I do miss being out in the field. I do miss seeing core every day, because it was always a mystery. Oh, what are you going to get today? That was always exciting, but I've learned to live without it, for sure.
Do you still get a chance to go out to the field every now and then?
Yep. Are you? Yeah, I'll be going up this year too. I'll be going up to our Catharsis project and then back out to Hook to go see some ACKIO.
I guess when you're drilling, you want to be there to sort of see what some of the early core kind of looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. What sort of catalyst could we expect over the next 6 months?
A lot. Again, with 12 million, we have to burn a lot. We have to drill. Drill. So we've got Catharsis drilling, as we talked about, 2,000 meters, about 8 to 12 drill holes in 4 to 5 different target areas. Very exciting target areas, and hopefully one of those will yield fruit. But so that'll probably be wrapped up by the end of March. So we'll have results after that. Bear starts in May. We've got a 1,500 meter drill program for that, so that will continue. And while May's sorry. Also in May, we've got the ANT survey happening at Hook, and then Hook drilling starts in June. ACKIO starts in June, and our Hook exploration drilling will probably start in July after Bear is complete. And then 2 drills operational on the Hook project, one at ACKIO, one doing exploration, probably until mid-September-ish. Then after that, it's results all the way through, but results should be coming throughout.
How are you finding? How have you found previously? The turnaround time for getting assays.
There was a lull a few years back, but that has been resolved, and now we're very comfortable with turnaround time there, as to be expected.
I guess that's sort of still you're not exactly certain. It depends how busy everybody else is, how busy the labs are, but no crazy sort of 5-month delay type stuff.
No.
Any final thoughts you'd just sort of like to leave us with? Any things that we didn't cover? Any thoughts you kind of wanted to get out before we sort of wrap up here?
No, I think we covered a lot of it, but just to reemphasize everything, I think Baseload is a unique company. I think we think differently than everyone else. I think our interests and ideas are aligned with investors, and that's what we really want to push. We want to push that we are the company to make a discovery, the right type of discovery that will reward investors, not just from the discovery phase, but also seeing it through into production or maybe being bought out by a larger company. But we put our shareholder money to best use as quickly as possible. We're all about discovery.
Well, it sounds like you've got a very good thesis, a unique thesis, and one that's been built off of some sound geological criteria. So, and based upon your significant background. So I wish you lots of success. Hopefully you'll come back here once you've had a bit of information out. It's a story we'd like to sort of stay up on. So I really appreciate you spending a bit of time with us here today, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. Thanks very much for your time, James.
Thanks a lot, Kira. Take care.